Well, hello there, everyone. He show you right here. Talk about you for portfolio exchange as well as you for PayGrade, and talk about right here. Talk about for any corrections that need to be made. But on the other hand, that knowing for the time for whenever we were responsible for it at one time, but then now it's like, well, not no longer our responsibility now. That type of stuff. But you see right here, as I went ahead, most of us have seen this already, but then go to page 2 right here and top about right here for pay grade, for knowing about really what would be above or below our pay grade. And I would we would see like a red X right here is knowing about if everything's fine, and then as well as the check mark saying good to go. And then you have right here are like a form I went ahead and found right here is like some old school documents. And like Warrant, we're kind of looking back at some of the stuff, and we're like Warrant, where really that something that was not completed, correctly, or something that's of concern. So whenever you start working on something, and then all of a sudden 2 or 3 years later, maybe 10 years later, or whatever, and then you may notice about something and thinking about as to where something either needs to be corrected or it was never finished or anything like that, and you're like Warren to where that was not my responsibility at the time, or it was, but then I was told that I didn't have to worry about it. So I use this right here as an example of talk about for pay grade. But on the other hand, that if we would be using something like maybe illustration work, maybe photos, and you're like Warren to where before any clients that got interested in what I do, it is that I was just putting this together as like which says just for fun, kind of like a word search crossword puzzle. But until then, it was like, yeah, that for like the pay grade though, that you're like warrant or between above and below the pay grade, that anybody who finds the work interesting. So we're like warrant or after about maybe a few weeks or a few months, from time it takes, just to work something, and then by the time it maybe finally, somebody finds out about it or somebody sees that, and then they find it, see it interesting. So you're like Warren to where, well, I can maybe explain, but what about it? So whenever people look at our work, we may think necessarily to where that was work that we were doing, but then on the other hand, too, what is considered above or below our pay grade? And think about it to where a lot of this maybe mistakes, or if it's corrections that need to be made, or if it's anything that went on during that time as to where that yeah that we may have thought at one time that we had about 5 years completed. Of course, as we may have found out that we have about maybe 2 or 3 other degrees. So while we were working on something and thinking about necessarily that with anything that we were working on, that well, all that time that we may have found out that we had a degree, but then on the other hand, it requires something else, that requires our attention too. So we're like one to where what is considered what you call pay grade, pay grade to where that people want to know answers to, but then it's this thing about it to where if those answers really count. So yeah, like thinking about it is to where with me though, it is like the only type of degree that I really have is like for like high school education, but other than that, between college years, I still got more work to do. But some that may think that is to where that yeah that anything that comes to their attention that more likely that was not on order. Let's just say that work that you were working on, but then it was not related to class work. It was related to something else. Somebody else that got interested in that. So now it's like, well, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's even above the pay grade, whichever. So, but the way I think about though is that with pay grade, what do you usually we think we mean it whenever we mention anything about pay grade? I'm like information that is collected on a portfolio and maybe for a job search or anything like that. And we're like warrant to where a number of things that were not completed from before. And we may think that, yeah, that basically what does pay grade basically mean? According to my understanding, it means as to where that, all the responsibilities and all all the tasks that need to be complete, but then after about after the course is over with, or that somebody else that fills the position or something like that that you were told to don't worry about. So a number of things that need to be complete or finished, but then that you're like Warrant, or that if there's a problem that comes up maybe about a year later, and you're like Warrant, or if it's really if it's really worth about for anybody's pay grade, is that any issues that come up later on. So a lot of times with pay grade, though, this pay grade usually means stuff from the past. Stuff from the past that corrections, stuff from the past that more likely could reflect the future. Or does it basically mean as to where that we thought maybe the work was all over with until we checked the paperwork's on file, and you're like Warrant, or oh no, there still needs to be more work that needs to be done. This paper right here, example right here of like from spring of 1999. So it talks about, I think map testing it is, but let's just say on average to where at this was like for final finish from whenever I was in the 7th grade, it starts talking about the scores and measures and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I'm also talking about it's like for portfolios, is that thinking about as to where a lot of the stuff right here that I was working on putting together, and then now that people may look at this and think about, before that, I would just think about, does this really relate to anything related to education, about any type of degree in study for about pay grade, as to where that really that anything that more likely people are going to want to seek answers to, and as well as discuss them, as well as for any matters it is. So the way I think about though is like really that that I'm more likely I might not even answer unless if they're asked. But the way I think about though is like anybody who does take interest in what I do, I normally just think about as to where that really that if anything that you can ask at the proper time. But on the other hand, that I'm like warning to where that that if you notice something wrong a lot of times and you're trying to get something done, especially on an application, it doesn't work, then that's really comes to frustration. And sometimes it's pretty. I'm sure anybody probably say it's kind of embarrassing whenever you run into problems, because that it seems like to where everybody else is not experiencing problems, you're able to get something done, but then it kind of puts me on the spot to where, oh, you're not done yet, this is what you got to do. So I've gotten quite a bit used to it, to where it may not even hurt my feelings anyway. But on the other hand, too, it's going to be concerning to me, and then I may get frustrated about it. But on the other hand, too, I just try to learn to manage it as best I can. But anyway, but there you have it right here, Tasay Portfolios, and Tasay for pay grade, though, and knowing and understanding about the future of our education. That a lot of the past education that more likely could go into like the updating, like for what's improved for the higher education for the future. And we wanted to work that a lot of the things that we have worked in the past, and you're like Warren, to work that that if it's going to be maybe a change in majors, or if it's going to be maybe doing something else, moving on with your career, and find out that you have something on your portfolio, something such as to where maybe a mathematical factor that was not completed, something that was not completed, and now somebody wants to see something completed. So it seems like to where that's like a job to where it's on your portfolio, a job that's on the portfolio, but they're just knowing about who's going to take the priority responsibility, just to take care of it. But other than that, like so talk about say for pay grade and for portfolios change. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.